Hi everybody and welcome back to Planet Coaster 2. It's been a while since the last video. I'm sorry about that. Usually my summers are more busy than usual, and it genuinely means that I haven't really played Planet Coaster or even touched my computer at all in the past, well, I want to say month and a half. But I have been able to get some time in recently, and I've managed to, well, I want to say finished. It's not finished yet, but at least put down the entirety of the groundwork for this area of the park. Now, judging by the views, a lot of people might have missed the last 0.5 episode where I first showed this area. This is the area of which we had a vote for the theme. And it turned out that most of you wanted to see some sort of magical dark forest. Now, of course, the second I decided that theme, or the second I finished this area, Frontier decides to put out a magic themed pack, which is coming next week, which I'm super excited for. Now, I have decided that even though it might fit the theme better, I am not going to be replacing the work I've done here with the new magic pieces. I am going to be adding a few of the new animatronics into the dark ride, which I'm going to be showing you in a bit. But other than that, this is going to stay the same. I'll properly use the Sorcery Pack in another project soon. For today, however, I want to give you a proper tour around this area. I don't know exactly what has changed anymore, because this has been such a... Well, the work on this has been pretty spread out for me. I managed to do a few bits every few weeks, so I don't really know what I did or didn't change after the last video. I'm sorry. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take you through the entire area once again, also for those of you that didn't see that last episode. And there is one giant new thing on that side, which of course I'm going to show you. Now, I have to admit that the layout of this area hasn't worked out quite as well as I had imagined. It feels a bit too spread out, a bit too empty. Of course, it still needs benches and decorations and maybe even a few stalls here and there selling stuff. But other than that, especially this area to the right feels a little too spread out for, well, what's supposed to be a deep dark forest. Maybe adding a few trees will help, but other than that, I'm going to try and fix that. This is the entrance to the main attraction, the Ossart. To hear the full backstory on that, please watch the last video. I'm not going to explain that again. But I did add most of the theming to the queue. There's some simple fencing here to keep people out of the coaster areas. And then it goes into discovering. I try to get covering over the paths wherever the coaster goes over it to prevent people from getting hit in the head with loose objects. Now, as you'll see in a bit, the distancing from this coaster to the path is completely unrealistic in some places. So it is kind of a well, perceived realism. This area I've just completely covered also to prevent people from walking off the paths here. But I do think that these little sneak peeks you get through the fencing are a few of the coolest looks you can get of this coaster, with all the track like intertwining and going over each other and stuff like that. It feels very much like Terran in Phantasialand. Now, crossing beneath this giant fallen tree, again you get a nice view of this dip down in the coaster. There's also a bunch of ruined, well, what's suggesting that there have been buildings in the past around. Most of these are made from white brick, because that ties into the Abbey building, which is the station building. But there is also a lot of the more, well, dark medieval kind of styled buildings, especially around the brake run and the launch, which you can hear going there. There we go. Yeah, especially around this area with the bridge, you can see across from there are a few ruined buildings with trees growing out of them. Those are more of the old, like, village buildings that have collapsed over the years because of what the Ossart has done to them, which is basically just fly through them at high speeds. Now, crossing this bridge next to the launch as well, you make your way into the station area. Now, I've netted off all the paths here Again, it's probably not safe by most safety standards, but it does look cool. It gives you a nice view of the station, and well, at least it has some kind of realism that you don't climb over and just jump on the tracks immediately. And I've also custom supported parts of this coaster, not everything, just the parts that desperately needed it because either the in-game supports weren't going anywhere or they weren't going the way I wanted them to go. This little path leads you into the station. You can ride the ride from here. I've already put an on-ride in the last video, so I'm not gonna waste time with that again. And then here's someone who's desperately waiting for me to actually open this bar so they can do their job, which is probably behind that console table over there. Now, the exit pod is quite short. This was all made before we got the on-ride photos, otherwise I probably would have made some room in the layout to have like a photo or souvenir building. But this leads into the, well, old square of the town. I'm not entirely sold on this yet, and the reason why is because it just doesn't look busy enough yet. I wanted this to look like a town that has been kind of left in a hurry. So realistically there would be doors open and windows still there opened up, and there would be stuff lying around. I think this building is really cool because it does show the like collapsed and ruined kind of Left 4 Dead nature of this town. It's also right next to the launch, so realistically the All-Star would have probably broken this building while rushing through here and making its way up that hill. But yeah, I want to... This kind of corner I like. I just need to implement that on the rest of this square as well, without it feeling too cluttered. So I still need to find a way to do that realistically. Now, as another touch of realism, I've added a little toilet building here, and also plopped down a vending machine because a park like this would probably take any chance they get to make money. So yeah, even though it looks terrible, they plopped it down anyway because every cent is one. Now, exiting this main square area over the bridge, again, it provides some nice interaction down here with the coaster roaring beneath it. Can we get a glimpse of it? Oh, perfect. There we go. And it does that once, and then it comes over this side and goes over the path. Now, this is one of those places where it's completely unrealistic. You could probably punch people in the face if you leaned over this fence a little. I've tried reshaping the track, but then it just doesn't really flow well. So I've decided to take this as a little bit of creative liberty, because it does provide a pretty cool shot if you decide to use this way to walk up to the square. But yeah, other than that, that's completely unrealistic. There we go. Yeah, you could there's a good chance taller people might even smack their head on this fence. So yeah, completely unrealistic, but it looks cool. Now, making our way to the other side of this forest, you can see in the distance there's a little purple glow coming from a cave there. And that is the dark ride of this area. Now again, like I said in the beginning, this little square plaza thing still needs some redoing, reshaping, adding stuff to make it feel less open. Because again, this is supposed to be a deep dark forest. Now I've tried to just plonk down trees and vegetation everywhere, but that doesn't solve everything, so this place still needs some clutter. But it is the main area for entering this dark ride. This dark ride is called the Lost Caves Expedition, or the Lost Caverns Expedition, I'm sorry. It is... well, it's themed toward magic caves, and I think that's the entirety of the theming. There is no clear storyline, at least not one that's like preemptively written or followed. It is just an expedition through deep, dark, secretive caves filled with magic stuff. Now, entering the attraction, you get into the first kettle pen. This is supposed to, well, kind of remind you of the outside, but at night, so you're walking between these caverns and these rocks, but you can still see the starry night and the vegetation up there. This little peek through it's coming up in the next switchback. This little peek through at the carts, I think, is really nice. For some reason, it's kind of fun to see them going like that when you're still in the queue. And now from the other side, this is probably going to look really weird because you're suddenly just looking at people in the queue, but hey, it looks fun. It provides a little interaction with the attraction before you even enter it. Now going into this cavern, I think this area came out really well, especially with the lighting. I can't state this enough, but the lighting in Planet Coaster 2 is amazing, and I have not used it to its fullest extent. I made these firefly jars kind of central to the theme. At some point I even had them on the carts, but that just didn't really sit well. So yeah, I just hung them up everywhere else. They are the main source of lighting in these caves. And it's a little happy accident, but in the making of this like little rope that's going around it, maybe you can see it better here. Yeah, there's this little kind of bundle of rope going around. I accidentally created like a little almost magical pattern from the bottom with the like swirly things. So yeah, it does double duty as another added little bit of magic to these caverns. Now moving on to the station, you can see that this is actually the Omnimover ride. Of course, you already saw that in a little peek through. Station itself is nothing to write home about. It is just a boarding platform with some props. For some reason, I did not know these kind of flasks, potions existed until recently. Same with this one that's here. They are in the game. I think they're part of the Fairy Tale update. They're called witch pots. I didn't know these existed until very late into building this thing. So you're going to see a lot more of them the closer we get to the end of this ride. But they do make a perfect addition to this. So yeah, let's hop on and see what I've done with the place. So once you exit the station, you see the sign with cavern access, and again you can already see the fireflies being a central part of this. Now the first scene here is a thunderstorm scene. Again, there is no real story I followed with this other than sort of spooky, sort of magical. This tree, I think it was in the original game as well, is just amazing. I am in love with these pieces. There's also like a really angry one, and they are from the original game, but they still, I don't know, they provide a really nice centerpiece, and especially with the lighting interacting with it, it makes it look really cool. Now this next scene that we're going into, again, firefly jars everywhere, still needs work because what you're looking at right now is a giant screen. 2 of them, in fact. Now these are going to hold custom media. I'm thinking this is going to be a bit of the, like, I almost want to say chase scene or something, where it moves from right to left and you're following it, and it leads you into the next area. Oh, that was the media resetting. But yeah, it leads you into this next little cavern. I'm really glad how this turned out. Before you comment saying, what are those things in the middle? Those are placeholders. Again, like I said, Frontier is bringing out a magic pack next week, so I'm going to replace these blue things with some magical props. Other than that, it's going to stay exactly the same. But this is probably going to be a place where a magician is casting spells, or maybe some magical creature, I'm not entirely sure what kind of animatronics we're getting, is perching on top of that. And there's like little focus points around here. The coral really provides a nice, well, kind of magical touch here, with the fact that it glows and it emits light from itself. There are very few pieces in this game that do that, I found out. But it does provide the water here in the center with a bit more of a magical feeling. I've tried to hide most of the lights, but you can clearly see some of them are still peeking through the bushes over there, for example. I'm trying to strike a balance between Disney levels of hiding stuff and attainable park levels of hiding stuff. Now turning back here, we're gonna meet the witch for the first time. There we go. She's casting spells on us, and I imagine that one of these spells is meant to take us well, into some sort of weird dimension or force us into some sort of hyperspeed, because after that we're going into the spinning tunnel. Now those of you with motion sickness, be aware, because once we turn to the left, this genuinely feels like you're... oh boy, this... I actually got quite nauseous on this POV the first time I looked at it. Like here it's fine because you have a focus point, but once it goes fully into the tunnel, it's all... and we're back. So yeah, that's the one of the centerpieces of this ride. And then it takes you into what I've been calling Moonlight Vale, because it feels like something from Skyrim. But what is basically the witch's like garden. Now passing through underneath this waterfall, which you can barely see because of the lighting, sadly, but it is there. And you can see the witch's house in the distance, which is kind of blowing up. The moon is shining overhead, casting light upon this little pond, which has the fish swimming around in it. Or, well, swimming around might be a bit of a stretch for what they're doing. But yeah, it leads underneath the witch's house, where we get a little sneak peek of her garden underneath. Now, their suggestion is that she's in there because of all the fireworks going off. But yeah, after that, you get a little sneak peek down below, with lanterns lining the walls and stuff crossing over you. Now, I wanted to find a way to incorporate this hut on the ground floor, but it just didn't want to fit, and you can't scale this down. So I decided to do this, and for some reason I think it worked out pretty well. Now, as you can see, this is where I found out that these things exist, which are just amazing for this theme. Which is the reason that from now on you're going to be seeing them more than you have up until now. Now, passing on to the last show scene, really, of this ride, you can see I have the Flying Witch animatronic basically being the center point here. She's circling around the trees over top our heads, casting spells and cackling and just being really the presence of this show scene. Now, I want to add more stuff to the floor here, because it does feel a bit barren right now. Also because when you're stuck in a show scene long like this, you need more than one thing to look at. So you kind of want to focus, like, oh, there's the witch, and then there's stuff on the ground here, and yeah, I need to add that. And then there's this little ending scene, again with placeholders right now, where there's probably going to be a few people, like, it's like the classic Universal meme, people telling you, oh, you did a good job, lucky we made it out alive, see you for the next expedition, stuff like that. So that's the final goodbye, so to speak, to the riders, who then cross into the little tunnel, see the candles, face the onlooking eyes of people who are going to ride this through the glass pane we saw earlier. There we go. You can see the queue through there. And after that, you're on to the station, and you're already done with the expedition. Now, exiting the ride is on this side, and you are taken through a bit more of the cavernous stuff. There's a staff building behind here, which realistically would probably also be like a maintenance area. And then you're led out back onto the little side plaza. So yeah, that is the entire magical forest area for now. Like I said, I still need to add most of the detailing, especially to the outside. I think the rides themselves are pretty much done. At least, like I said, the dark ride still needs some additions once the magical pack is out, or the sorcery pack, I'm sorry. But other than that, I think I'm kind of content with how the rides are looking right now. I also have to admit that this area has kind of burnt me out when it comes to Planet Coaster 2 and when it comes to Polderpark. I like it, and I like the theme I've been able to do with the local Legend of the Ossart and the mystical caverns, but I've been working on this area the longest, and with the layout not entirely working out the way I wanted to, it's kind of been burning me out. So I am more excited to move on to a next area than I am to finish this one, if I'm being honest. Now I am going to finish this one, don't worry, but there is a chance that I had some plans, for example, to incorporate this iron claw as well. There is a big chance that I'm just going to cap this area off here, have it pass by the lake with a connecting path, and then just move on to the next area. Now I don't know what exactly that next area is going to be yet, though I do have some ideas, of course. I think for next episode I am going to finish all the smaller details in this area, put a stamp on it, have people come in, go on the ride, see how it looks with guests in it, and then move on to the next one. So yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you for joining me back after so long. This video might have felt a little different from the last ones. Like I said, I've been kind of burnt out with this area, but I'm glad it is coming to a close. And I'm also glad with how it is coming to a close. Let me be clear on that. I don't despise this area. I don't hate it. I like it. It's just that I've been working on it for so long that my head is kind of ready for something new. So I will see you again next time, where I'll probably have the foundation ready for next area. Until then, have a great week, month, day, whatever you still have left in front of you. And I will see you again in the next video. Bye-bye.
Thank you.